Okay, Raja, we're live now.
Okay, thank you, Sarosh. We are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the session, everyone. This is our usual session that we do every 2 to 4 weeks about our Large Language Models Bootcamp offering. I will go over the curriculum. I will go over what we do, what we teach, and the philosophy, the teaching philosophy. And in addition to that, the overall, what to expect when you come in and attend a training like this. My name is Rajak Pal. I'm the Chief Data Scientist and one of the lead instructors for the Large Language Models Bootcamp. I've been doing this training in data science and machine learning work for a long time. I mean, for the last 7-8 years, close to 8,000-ish people trained by me. Overall, the company has trained quite a lot of people. And I'm going to go over today, the focus is going to be the bootcamp. So before I go into the curriculum itself, what I would like to do is just to give you an idea, how did the bootcamp actually start? So back about, I would say about 12 to 14 months ago, we started actually building some large language model applications for some of our customers. And when you start building these systems, these applications, and building conversational agents, right? So, hey, write this blog, write this social media post, summarize this document, and do some sentiment analysis. Can you give me a quote sample for this? All of that. Tools like Bard, ChatGPT, Claude, all of them, they make it look deceptively easy. But when you start building solutions for actual customers, you realize this stuff is actually quite hard, harder than you expected. What do I mean by that? What I mean here is there are some business and technical and perhaps some other constraints around these applications that make building these systems while being aware or cognizant of these constraints. It makes it actually very, very difficult to be able to build these systems. For instance, right? So you can build an application, but as soon as you throw a lot of data at these, you have to worry about the costs. We have services, we have product-enabled services, and we have products in the space. And imagine a customer in one go uploading 500,000 documents. What would be the cost implications? And then what about if your models, the context windows are narrower, even with more advancements like GPT-4o with 128K context window over GPT 3.5, which is 32K context window, right? So how do you actually find these trade-offs? I mean, how do you find this trade-off between accuracy and the cost of these models? Then there are regulatory challenges in cases where you have some legal and regulatory restrictions that actually prevent you from rolling out a bot that can get you in trouble as a company. What if you have proprietary data? What about inference latency? Your customers expect a response in real time. Your customers want a response very quickly, but your bot is taking, or your application rather is taking longer. I'm intentionally avoiding the term bot here because bots can mean it can be confusing. You have a bot, and then but is it always a bot? Not necessarily. It is not always a bot. It could be it could be a summarizer. It could be more like call them legal assistant or call them assistants. I mean, could be legal assistant, could be, a writing assistant, could be, I don't know, proofreading assistant, and so on, right? So, and we'll look at it. Then there are data governance challenges, right? So there are AI governance challenges, if I may put it that way. Then whether using open source or closed source models, I mean, there are trade-offs in both cases. A lot of times, most of the time, these systems being stochastic systems, it is not possible to reproduce the results that you got exactly, word for word or token to token. They can hallucinate. How do you detect, prevent, and mitigate hallucinations? Your knowledge is outdated. You have new knowledge that is coming in, right? So previously, your previous response was based on your previous business realities, your previous tickets, your previous complaints from customers, your previous proposals, your previous emails. How do you update? How do you evaluate? I know that machine learning model, I can evaluate a machine learning model based on precision, recall, false positive rate, true positive rate, R squared, or mean absolute error. I can do a lot of things. But what if I want to evaluate language? A man bites the dog or a dog bites the man, right? So now, I mean, different order. How do you actually differentiate? Because both phrases have exactly the same terms or same keywords. How do you differentiate that these are semantically, they are different statements? Prompts can be brittle. Prompts are, a very small variation in prompts. How do you ensure that your prompts actually give you the results that you're desiring? All of these challenges, actually, when you start deploying these systems in production in real life, it becomes incredibly hard to keep them keep these systems working in a manner that they deliver the business value and keep the business out of trouble. So we have different variations of the LLM bootcamps or LLM courses. We have, I'm going to be mostly talking about the Large Language Models Bootcamp, the in-person and remote option. But we also have instructor-led live courses that you can find. You can go to our website online. We have a course called Large Language Models for Everyone, which is for, well, as the name suggests, right? So if you are someone who wants to get started, wants to understand what this whole LLM ecosystem is about, then that course is for you. We have a live instructor-led course on LangChain as well. We also have, some other courses that are coming up. And then we have also have self-paced courses. But as I said, I will be focusing on the LLM Bootcamp at the moment. This LLM Bootcamp is there are two delivery formats. The same bootcamp is offered in person in Seattle. The next one is happening in Seattle. But at the same time, some people will be attending it remotely. And that's how it is going to work. It is the same bootcamp. Some people attending remotely, some people are in class, and then we will make sure that the interaction is there. You can ask questions remotely. The people in person, they can the questions that they asked, remote attendees can hear, and then the other way around as well. What do we have, right? So basically, it is a comprehensive curriculum designed by practitioners. So I would like to emphasize on this, even though right now we are the only bootcamp in industry that is teaching this. Very soon, I mean, you will have a lot of other bootcamps that will start emerging. What differentiates us is that the people who teach at this bootcamp, they are known in industry, right? So it's not some unknown people. So if someone is teaching you about, I don't know, RAG, I mean, they have built RAG systems. If someone is teaching you about fine tuning, they know what fine tuning is, and they have done fine tuning, and they have practical experience. So it brings in a very unique and different perspective. Then pretty much most of the mainstream tools and libraries, they are covered. I will go through the curriculum in a moment, and you will see it's a fairly comprehensive curriculum. It's and we keep updating it, right? So very recently, LangChain made some changes in their, some major changes in their the entire framework. And then we actually very quickly adapted, and then we adjusted for those changes. And I will show you everything that we have in a moment. And also at the end of the training, on the last day of the training, we are going to be giving everyone the resources that will enable them to build their own LLM application. So you will leave with a working LLM application of your own at the end of the bootcamp. We are collaborating with some of the industry leaders in this space. I think Llama Index is missing for some reason, but we are actually collaborating with some of the very well-known names in industry for this bootcamp. Any expenses in terms of your token usage, any expenses in terms of GPU cost, any expenses in terms of any code that you run, all you need to do is bring your browser-enabled computer, and then everything else is taken care of by Data Science Dojo. When you register for the training, we assume that you have paid for the infrastructure, but can actually get quite costly in terms of your token usage and GPU usage. We also have guest talks from industry. They will talk about real world, war stories, real scenarios from real life. And as I said, hands-on exercises from all topics. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually walk you through the curriculum. I will give you an idea to give you a sense of what this whole bootcamp is about and how do we approach it, how do we teach the entire bootcamp. Let me actually just go through one more slide, and then we'll take you to the actual learning platform. So if you look at this, one of the things that you would like to understand is how are LLMs, are different LLMs and large language models. They are if you're using one of the off-shelf one, how do you take it and start using it? Or if you're using a deployed model that has already been deployed, how do you go ahead and use it? How do you actually fine-tune a model if it's an open source model, or for that matter, closed source model? How do you go and take and use them, right? So that's one component of your LLM application. Then you always need a vector database. How do you go and deploy a vector database? How do you query a vector database and all of that? Which embedding model do you use? Do you use straight away the standard general purpose embedding model, or do you use custom model for embeddings? How do you build a domain specific embedding model? Then how do you use an orchestration framework? For the lack of better term here, think of these as frameworks that make your RAG application, building a RAG application easier. So the LangChain, most notably LangChain and Llama Index are there. How do you set up a cache? Just like you have as a software developer, for those of you who've done software development, caching is important. So how do you actually build large language models cache? How do you do that? How do you log? How do you put guardrails? How do you prevent the model from doing something that can get you in trouble, or it can get, for that matter, I mean, it's a safety concern. How do you do that? How do you deploy these models? We cover all aspects of whatever I discussed and more in our course. Let me go here and get started. Let's see, maybe I can go here. Let me actually take a few more slides, and then I will go to the learning platform. So this is our stack. This is our technology stack. These are the things that we will be using here and there. We use OpenAI, Hugging Face, Llama 2, and Symbol AI, different foundation models. OpenAI, we will show how to use GPT-4 or GPT 3.5. We'll have a fine-tuning exercise. I will explain it in detail in a moment. On Llama 2, Symbol AI is, a very domain-specific, conversational AI model. BV8 is there for vector databases. We have a lot of exercises in BV8. LangChain and Llama Index. We spend almost a day on Llama Index. We use RunPod, GPU cluster, GPU cloud. Then we have iLabs. We deploy our application in Streamlit. So you can see the general idea, right? So this is technology stack, and I believe there's more that we will be doing. But what do we do, and how do we approach, and what content do we cover in this training? Let me just see. There is... yes. So there is a question by Declan Foster. So the question is, can you cover prerequisites, for example, level of tech knowledge? So Declan, the only I would say prerequisite or recommendation is that you have knowledge of Python. Because the labs are in Python, and you can get by. We have had people who were not Python programmers. They were okay. I will show you. But definitely, when you come in, you do not need to be. The question that I was about to ask has already been asked. What level of knowledge in Python? So as long as you can read Python code, would be okay. But at the same time, I want to be very clear on this, that we are talking about reading. So let's say you're a technical product manager. We have had people who were product managers, project manager, or people manager, or maybe product leaders, not necessarily the implementers of this applications. They did just fine. They were just fine with. They did just fine in terms of following the content. But if you plan to actually go back and build applications, the bootcamp focuses on the fundamentals. The bootcamp focuses on showing you how things are built. We are not going to actually turn you from a non-developer into a developer during the bootcamp, right? So that's not the intent. But you will learn all the solid foundations. But if you are a rockstar developer already, you will definitely be able to go and build things on your own, build an application on your own. If you're a great product manager, you will actually understand the technical details of the nuances as much as possible. But you will not suddenly transform into from a product manager to a developer, right? So as long as that part is clear. But most people, pretty much everyone does just fine, whether they have a coding background or they don't have a coding background. It does not matter as much. So for those of you who do not know Python, we have getting ready before the bootcamp, and then we have some tutorials that we give you in terms of introduction to Python programming. You can see that we have some Python programming fundamentals. As long as you know very basic Python syntax, you will be fine. So we start the bootcamp with a general overview, right? So we spend about 2 to 3 hours, the first 2 to 3 hours on Monday morning. You come in. Those who are attending in person, I will actually plug in my computer. Just give me one moment. Okay, we are good. So so on Monday morning, those who are in person, as I said, there's two groups. One group would be remote, online, and others would be in person. Same cohort, but in different locations. So when you come in, and you get started, and when you get started, you will be actually we'll walk you through the entire ecosystem. We'll start with a very basic understanding of how machines learn, how AI works, how do machines do, and how do machines actually understand content? How do the machines actually see? We talk about why is it important to, for in interpretation of text, why is it important to know the context and all of that. So we set the foundation there. We talk about embeddings. Why are embeddings important? We talk about vector databases. Why are vector databases important? Very high level, what is, how do vector databases actually do things, all the operations very quickly, very high level at the moment. Then we talk about large language models. I mean, basically, how do they work in general? What is prompt engineering? What is how do you customize the model? What is fine tuning? What is RAG? What are the risks and challenges in AI adoption or generative AI or large language model adoption? We have set the context, and within the first 2 to 3 hours, you have a very basic understanding of the end-to-end entire ecosystem and the general set of challenges. Once that is done, we start to drill deeper into the respective individual sessions. So we start with the idea of embeddings, but we don't directly go to the semantic embeddings. We start with the traditional historical evolution of text encoding. Start with one-hot encoding, go to vector, maybe one-hot encoding, count-based, then TF-IDF, then n-grams and bigrams, then word-to-vec, then glove, CBOW, and all of that, right? So we actually go slowly, build the momentum, build that context. We don't directly just go to attention mechanism, right? So I mean, we can go to the fancy stuff right away, but that's not the point, right? So you have to actually see how things evolve. Hands-on exercises I will show you in a bit, right? So you will click on the Python notebook, and Python notebook actually pops up right away. Then we go to the semantic embedding stuff, right? So we talk about in a lot of detail. We'll talk about attention mechanism and transformers. What is what is attention? What are transformers? We talk about all of that. And then once we have done it, you will go and click on this. Click on a lab, and then you will have a lab that will pop up like this, and you will execute the lab. Then we'll go to vector databases. I mean, when I go to vector databases, we'll start with the entire. Why do you need a vector database? How do you store data? How do you index? We talk about different kind of indexing techniques, HNSW, product quantization, vector compression. We talk about retrieval techniques, different kind of retrieval approaches, cosine similarity, and other optimization approaches. And once we are done with all of that, we are going to go to our hands-on labs, right? So, and when you click on each of these labs, as you can see, I simply clicked on these labs, and these are browser-based labs. We are going to run. I can start running. We will give you a deployed vector database where you will be creating and storing your own embedding. You can see that, in right here, we have this, we are using this embeddings model. You see how this whole embeddings business works. How do you go and store embeddings? How do you import data? How do you create a vector search index? And so on. Once that is done, we go to similarity search. When that is done, hybrid search. Why do you need hybrid search? We actually rationalize, explain to you, we moved from keyword-based search to semantic search. Why do we need to go back and combine both? There's a reason, and we will rationalize, discuss internally what scenarios, when would you use hybrid search versus regular keyword search or just semantic search. Generative search, vector compression, and multi-tenancy. Very in-depth. We spend about 4 hours purely on vector databases, 4 hands-on hours that we spend. We spend time on semantic search. Then we, at a very high level, very quickly, I mean, we don't spend too much time on prompt engineering because, we will be doing prompt engineering throughout here and there. So, prompt engineering is something that we don't have the luxury to spend on. This is a relatively easier topic compared to what we are doing. So we spend about an hour on prompt engineering. Then we talk about LangChain. LangChain, we spent 6 to 8 hours on just LangChain. And the way we work on LangChain is we are going to actually give you a lot of, we will um, give you a lot of context and rationale. Why do you need, for instance, right? So the first set of labs is, our first set of labs is, for instance, prompt templates. So why do you need prompt templates? So what would the world look like? What would an application look like if there were no prompt templates? And once that is done, once we have discussed, I'm going to go and click on, well, the prompt templates. And let me bring in my key here. Where is my key? Just a moment. Yes, I found the key. So, and all of you, you have these Jupyter notebooks. Everyone gets their own dedicated space. And once we have it, I'm going to run. And if you look at this here, I'm going to paste my key. You will be given a key. I'm going to run it, and you can see that now I am running this piece of code. We'll discuss how was this prompt template created. Okay, so when this is done, after that, now you can see that there are multiple exercises. We go from exercise to exercise. One by one, we go through all the exercises. Then we move on to, retrieval, right? So, and now you can see there are different kinds of retrieval. Of course, we cannot cover every single under the sun. It's not simply possible. There's 100 types of different document loaders, and dozens of retrievers that are there, right? So how do you work on that? Basically, we explain the idea, and then we have one or two types of document loaders, one or two types of vector stores, document splitters for Markdown, and all of that, right? So maybe I will just randomly click on one of them. I don't know which document loader it is. I'm trying to remember. But when you look at this, so this is a Hacker News loader, right? So LangChain has loaders for pretty much anything that exists out there. SharePoint, YouTube, web URL, just anything that you can imagine, right? So all type of loaders are there, and we go through some of them to give you an idea how to use loaders and retrievers. Talking about chains, right? So why do you need chains? We talk about rationalize, why do you need chains? And then we go and talk about, some kind of chains. And then the same drill, you have access to the learning platform. We run, and we run it. And if you look at this, now I'm running this. We explain this to you. You go through this exercise, and then we ask you to create your own chains, right? So you can already see that. And for those of you who are not actually Python programmers, you will be fine, because just mimicking this. I mean, we have multiple instructors in class, so we'll help you with that. But for those of you programmers, I mean, you can work on creating fairly complex chains. So if you look at this, there is this ease of use. Even if I'm not a programmer, I'm just going in and trying to understand. I'm a product manager. I'm not hands-on as much. I don't code as much. But the challenge is, and I can tell you this from a personal pain point, we have a product that we are building. And one of the biggest challenges we have is being able to find a good product manager for this particular product that we have built. Not this particular product, but we have another product that we have actually big, 10, 50 billion plus dollar companies that are using it, right? So in this day and age, especially for LLM products, anyone who's building products, they must be technical. There's no other way, right? So even if you're not a coder, if you're not a coder, you will be fine. you're a good product manager, you can understand, you can, you're technical, but not a developer, you'll be fine. But if you're a developer, you are going to actually be able to spend a lot of time. And then, you have a lot of code samples. I'm showing you only some of them. We will go through some of them. You can see this is a router chain. We start with simple chain. Router chain is, well, based on what the query is, it infers what the query is. It sometimes gives it to this. It gives it to this prompt. Otherwise, it gives it to that prompt, and so on. Of course, I cannot go into the detail. You can see that we have all of that. We go through the memory. You see how in ChatGPT, when you type in something, it connects the dots to the previous question, and that connects the dot to the previous questions. Excuse me. So what you're able to do is, we will actually be talking about memory. I mean, how do you build memory? And memory and the conversation buffers, they can be of different types. You can see how do you build LLMs inherently are stateless. How do you build that conversation memory? I mean, you see that we are talking about knowledge graphs as well. We are talking about, all sorts of, complicated, should not say complicated, but somewhat advanced ideas. So we build things slowly, and we start building things toward, more complex ideas. Then we talk about agents, multi-agent scenarios. You have a query, you have a LLM query that potentially can be answered by, a web search engine or Wikipedia or this agent or that agent. How do you actually make these work for make a query that can have different intents actually work using a bunch of tools. After LangChain, about, as I said, 6 to 8 hours on just LangChain, we spend quite a bit of time on fine-tuning, about 4 hours on fine-tuning. We start with explaining to you why fine-tuning, how is it different from anything else, what kind of fine-tuning exists, what can be the challenges of fine-tuning, what are the optimization approaches in fine-tuning, what is quantization, what is low-rank adaptation, why do you need these, how are they done. Then we go and give you a GPU cluster. Everyone gets their own GPU cluster. You build a model. You're given a Llama 2 7 billion parameter, 4-bit quantized model. You deploy. I mean, we don't show deployment in this particular exercise. So you build this. You fine tune the model, and you compare the model with the baseline model on a data set that was already given to you. We spend a time on evaluation as well. We start with your generic NLP type. Let me show you where is evaluation. So we start with these NLP or maybe language translation evaluation metrics like Blue Score and Rouge Score and Meteor and so on. So we start with those. We look at understand their limitations. So you can see that there's Rouge and Blue and Meteor, and then we slowly we talk about what are the limitations. So one thing that we strongly believe in is possibly one approach might be directly go to semantic evaluation technique, but that really does not ingrain all the ideas very well. So we start with some suboptimal techniques. We discuss the limitations. Then we go to some somewhat more optimal techniques, discuss the limitations, and then we go to techniques like GPT eval, where one large language model is evaluating the other large language model, basically LLMs evaluating LLMs, right? Fascinating stuff. But then there are somewhat more advanced techniques like RAGAS, which actually evaluate models or evaluate more RAG-based applications. So we have labs on RAGAS as well that we will actually go through. We have a session on observability and evaluation, observability and monitoring, and guardrails. How do you build model? How do you log after you build the models, or rather, keep calling it models? So how do you build an application? How do you log and collect data? How do you monitor your application? How do you prevent application from getting your business or maybe a user of that application in trouble? Then we have a session on domain-specific models. There is this whole wave of building models that are very domain-specific models, smaller, lighter weight models that are conversational in nature. So not conversational in nature, but they are very domain-specific, task-specific in nature, but they're lighter weight models. So we use one of our partners, actually, Symbol AI. They have this conversational AI model. So they explain to us, this whole idea of, why do we need a domain-specific model? And then, the same drill, we talk about intense discussions that happen, and then we go on to, build and do some hands-on exercises. We have a session on enterprise applications or enterprise AI governance as well. When you build these applications, you have to make sure that your applications are very secure. And then, there is potentially any kind of, lapse in judgment in terms of access controls. Actually, it can result in significant damage to the overall reputation, or maybe put the company in a difficult situation legally or with regulators. On the last day, we actually spend time building an LLM application, and we give you boilerplate code to get started with, and then we have code snippets, and we ask you to plug things in. Can you implement this chain? Can you implement memory now? Can you write a different loader? So think of it as this way, that not everyone is a web developer. So we actually have set up this app in a way that even those who don't know any web development at all, they can actually go and deploy this code. So we give you a VM where everything is in there in a coding editor. Even if you don't know any coding at all, we give you the steps. You go and push it into your GitHub account. From GitHub, you push it into a Streamlit app, and very soon you have this web URL. But then we give you pointers on how to modify the app, and then you modify the app to really get the desired behavior. And you have seen the entire life cycle of an LLM application. So that's at a very high level what we do in the bootcamp. Let me go back, and maybe perhaps I will answer some questions, then I will continue the presentation. So recording link, yes, I think it has already been shared. Can you share the slides? I believe there is a link where you can request the slides. Yes, we can share with you, I'm sure. Can we get demo access to the platform? I'm not sure, Salim, what you mean by demo access, because demo access would mean that we expose all the content. If that is the case, but I mean, maybe one or two, a module here or there, we definitely can give you, if you reach out to us, we should be able to actually do something about it, right? But the entire platform, of course, there is no demo access that we can give. That won't be actually possible. can you describe what the experience for online participants be? Will we see the screen as clearly as it is now, or will we see an instructor from far with a screen behind them? We actually have invested in quite a bit in technology since we are the only boot camp that is doing so much work in 1 week in the world right now. I mean, it's a big claim to make, but I mean, I can make this claim because that is true. So we are the only boot camp in the world at the moment. So very frequently people from other countries, maybe for whatever reason, because of cost reasons, because of because of family reasons, I cannot leave because I have a kid to take care of at home, or I mean, if I have a dog that I need to take care of, and all those things, right? So we actually did pilot in the last time. So the experience, we tried to test it out. How would it be? We have invested quite a bit in technology. So the way it works is that, yes, it is going to be as clear as what you see. It is going to be through Zoom, for sure. But then you're talking about a multi-camera interaction, because you will also we have a camera that tracks the speaker, and the camera automatically switches to the whiteboard when the speaker actually goes and starts to write. And we have a human in the loop, as we call it. So if the tracking sometimes, if it does not go as expected, then we have a human that will be monitoring. But for the most part, I mean, the tracking works just fine. I mean, sometimes, I mean, your speaker goes out of range, then comes back. So those kind of things. So we invested in heavily in that, the infrastructure. We have, the participants, of course, the online participants, they will have their mics, but the in-class participants, everyone can hear each other's questions. So it is going to be, except that you don't have the physical presence, but everything else, we will try to keep it as close to in-person experience as possible. So I hope I was able to answer this question, and it does make sense. Happy to answer any other questions about really anything. I'm one of the instructors. I'm not just some sales guy, just giving you a sales pitch. I teach. I enjoy teaching. So if you have any questions about any of the content, even any deeper technical questions only related to the bootcamp, I mean, not questions like, is Gemini better than Chat GPT? Not those kind of questions. Anything related to the content, and anything related to the teaching, I'm more than happy to actually answer any questions. Okay, I will wait as much more questions trickle in. So this is, if you look at this, we talk about a lot of risk, and this is actually whatever I mentioned just now, whatever I explained in the learning platform. This is the slide version of everything, right? So we talk about the challenges and risks. One of the things is that we do not purely want to focus on technology. For those of you who have spent time in industry, you already know that it is not the technology that it is not only technology that takes business forward. There is much more to business, and much more to growth of business. There's much more to the growth of business beyond technology. I think my camera stopped working for some reason. Okay, I think I'm back. Okay, I think I am back. So sorry about that. A docking station sometimes can be a problem. So we talk about the business challenges quite a bit. We talk about, you can see I have already talked about this aspect. So we will go in depth in terms of embeddings, and why are they needed, how do you use them, etc. Attention mechanism and transformers in depth, vector databases, a lot of depth. You can see we talk about all of these. I mean, this may sound like too much, but yes, I mean, it's as some attendees would like to put it, it is a brutal experience, but in a good way, right? So you will be, I mean, this is a lot of content. And then the way we have structured this is We have lowered the barriers, right? So labs are already set up. You're not going to be struggling. Hey, IT would not allow me to install this Python package. Hey, my laptop does not work. My browser, all of that, right? So we have everything, just completely set up for you, so you do not have to worry about, a lot of things that otherwise you would have to, right? So we have set up all the infrastructure, the keys, the GPU clusters, the Jupyter notebooks, the Python code samples, the dependencies, everything is already installed for you. So fine tuning, I've talked about this. LangChain, I've talked about this. LangChain, we cover a lot of content in LangChain. You can see multi-agent applications, we've talked about this. Monitoring and guardrails, I've mentioned. So a lot of stuff in monitoring. And guardrails, how you set up guardrails. Again, hands-on exercises in this area. I should have mentioned one more thing, actually. So there is one more session that I enjoy, and I've been told that actually the attendees also enjoy, is the advanced RAG. When you build a RAG application, let me actually, maybe I can flash a few things on the screen just to give you an idea. Just please bear with me. And I'll bring up that slide deck. These folks, I am too many windows here. I'm trying to find that particular deck. Yeah, this is the one. Okay, I hope all of you can see my screen. And I will try to find where my own, okay, this is where I am. Okay. So if you look at this, we in a RAG application, you may have challenges in different stages. So you have challenges in the data ingestion stage. What kind of challenges? How do you chunk? How big the chunk should be? How do you embed? How do you augment the chunks? Do you create custom embeddings or not? And I can keep going. I mean, so there's so many things that you can worry about. Then there is, when you're retrieving, how many chunks do you? You can have too many chunks. You can have too few chunks. You can have chunks that are unrelated. There's plenty of issues that can happen. This is a 2 to 3 hour session just on this very engaging, very vibrant discussion. I mean, people are just all pumped up. I mean, excited in this discussion, coming up with different possible scenarios. I think there is a question. Raj, I see you raising hand. Please feel free to type a question. I don't think we have we usually don't allow people to be on mic, but feel free to put a question in the Q&A tab, and we will be, based on some past experiences, I apologize. I know you're a good guy, but based on some past experiences, we do not allow. Okay. So there is a question. Is there some Python links that you would recommend so as to complete the pre-learning before the bootcamp? How long will it take? Raj, if you already know, so the question is, how much Python do I need to know before to be able to? So the amount of Python that you need to know, we can actually share that with you. I mean, it is already in the learning platform, so we can actually give it to you. So you don't need a lot of Python, Raj, and I can assure you, as long as you know some programming language, right? And also, as long as your intent is not to go back and build applications, because I do not want to set wrong expectations here. If you don't know Python at all, or if you're not an outstanding software developer, the bootcamp is not going to turn you into an outstanding software developer, right? So if you're a great software developer, you will be a great LLM application developer. If you're a great product manager, you will be a great LLM product manager. But you will not be able to become like a non-developer to a developer, or maybe a developer to a product manager, right? So you will, your core skill set will remain the same. You will be able to actually contextualize or use your core skill set in the context of large language models. So that's really what we are here for. So I hope I answered your question, right? So, and Raj, feel free to actually set up there are links that we have posted. Feel free to set up a call. I'm happy to actually talk to you and give you advice to the best of my ability. Okay. Okay, the next question is, why is most of AI coding being done in Python as opposed to Java, Perl, or even compiled languages? Raj, I am actually, I may have an opinion, but I'm not sure actually why that is the case. I think it is based on the support that, Python is fairly easy. Python is slightly more difficult than speaking English, right? So if you can read English, you can read Python. I cannot say the same about Java and Perl. I have some experience with both a long time ago. So I think it's just a tool of choice. Data scientists, they started, preferring Python, and then, open source has more support, more packages. Pretty much, I don't know if LangChain is in Java or Perl, but LangChain definitely is in Python. Llama Index in Python. Pretty much all libraries, they have SDKs in all of these frameworks, all of these open source tools. They have support for Python, but not so much for Java and Perl. I think it's just maybe the ecosystem is now built that way, that Python is going to be the first class citizen in AI. Okay, so that said, I know there is one or two more questions, so let me wrap this up and I will come back to questions, right? So if you look at this, this is what we call the naive RAG, right? So, you have just very basic data ingestion, query retrieval, response, and query, the user query, right? So now think about this. In retrieval, you can have so many challenges. The right chunks are missing. You may have too many chunks, irrelevant chunks. You may have not enough chunks. Both are possible. There may be noise in your chunks. There is all sorts of issues around hybrid search. I mean, how do you optimize your index so you get the most relevant chunks? So there's so many things that I can spend an entire day here talking about this query, right? So how do you a big challenge in information retrieval is query understanding. How do you understand the intent? And there are so many things. I mean, maybe I will share the joy with you, right? So for one of the customers, right? So we actually built for rewriting the query, we built a custom fine-tuned model that actually has substantially improved the generation because our query rewriting logic was better than your standard vanilla query rewriting, right? So there are so many things that we have learned over time. They are not in any textbook. Soon, of course, they will appear in textbooks, but there is a lot of practical wisdom that we have gained over serving several customers. I'm not talking about one customer. I mean, complex scenarios. I mean, tutors, sales scenarios, maybe assistants for your sales reps or your sales team, customer support agents, legal assistant, right? So I can keep going, but there's a lot of different scenarios that we have built for different customers. There is all these challenges, and this session actually this session happens around the day 4 or day 5 when people are already they have been able to wrap their head around the general domain and general set of challenges. They have this appreciation of what goes on. We talk about these, and this is more of an interactive session where we talk about challenges in loading, extracting, and chunking and embedding, doing all of this at scale. This is a very, very detailed session, as I said. I mean, what kind of different chunking strategies, and so on, right? So you can do semantic chunking, recursive chunking, and all of that. So it's one of my favorite sessions because I actually get to, as an educator, I get to see, that people are now responding to what was taught in the first 4 days, and then and a lot of times I learned too, right? So I mean, so that's the fun part of it. So there is another question for online participants. We have actually both in-person and online participants will have online recording. And for how long? We promise legally. The legal disclaimer is for 1 year. We don't discontinue people, but I cannot legally tell you forever, right? So because I don't know. I mean, but can anything be forever? I don't think so. So, but in general, right? So uh, we will give you the recordings for both in person and online attendees for 1 year. This is the legal disclaimer, but we have not cut anyone off ever, even for our data science bootcamp. So I mean, the infrastructure is running, it doesn't harm us. I mean, so and also the content has been changing. So this time, for instance, we recently onboarded Llama Index. So Jerry Liu from Llama Index, he will be actually teaching a session on agentic RAG. So he's very new. So what happens to those people who did not attend this bootcamp before, or so rather who attended the bootcamp before, but Jerry was not teaching at that time. So we send you a Zoom invite, even if you have gone back. Anything new that we add to the bootcamp, which we have been doing. Luis Serrano, he actually was not in the first 2 or 3 boot camps. He recently became an instructor. So when Luis started teaching, we have been sending invites to Zoom invites to previous attendees, so they can actually come in and learn from Luis. So any new content, any update that happens, we try to make it into a remote session, turn it into a session, because I mean, we really our a core pillar in our company's philosophy is customer obsession. We don't run any ads. We don't have big sales and marketing teams, right? So all we do is our customers are our biggest champions. So we try to actually go above and beyond to actually help our customers. So even if they have left us, the bootcamp has ended, the relationship does not end on Friday of the bootcamp, 40 hours and goodbye. No, I mean, many people, they stay connected with us even after, and we keep adding value to their learning journey. Okay. There is a question that I do not understand. Do we have bootcamp for building applications that might have some LLM touch as well? I mean, this is all LLM. I mean, you will be touched by LLMs all the time. I don't know. I mean, so I'm not sure what is the question here, because this is all about LLMs. I mean, you will get tired of hearing about, all the LLMs issues, the token limits and, parameters and, context windows and, the 7 billion, 13 billion parameters and quantization. So it is going to be, everything is around LLM. So this bootcamp is about LLM. So Usman, I'm happy to answer your question, but I don't think I quite understood your question, because this is all about LLM applications. Yes, that's what the bootcamp is about. Okay, I don't think there are any other questions. I will just give it a few more seconds if in case anyone has any questions. There is another question by D. Kareem. You may have covered this, but what kind of memory and processing power do you need to runtime labs? You do not. Everything is going to be done in browser. We will be giving you Jupyter notebooks for your labs that do not require GPUs. Let me show you. See here, let me close this. So you see how we have this evaluating LLMs. This is opening in your web browser. So you do not need to worry about anything, really. For the LLM fine-tuning lab, we'll give you a GPU cluster thanks to RunPod. RunPod is a partner. RunPod will give you a GPU credit and more than enough to actually fine-tune Llama 2 a few times. And then you get to keep that credit even after the bootcamp. Then you will for the what else, right? So for the tokens, we'll give you the API key, the OpenAI API keys that you will be using in case you want to use the, you have to plug this in. I think I did show it somewhere over here. You see this lab here. So run. So this particular lab, it requires an OpenAI API key. We'll give you the API key for the duration of the training, right? So you will plug it in and then run this lab. And then on the last day of the training, you will be actually building an LLM application. So we will give you a VM. Everyone gets their own VM with all the code organized and, in VS Code, you remote into the machine, all the dependencies installed, tested ahead of time. You run it, you test out that Streamlit app locally, you launch it, test it out, push it to your GitHub account. Of course, you will have to have your own GitHub account, and then you push it into the Streamlit server, or rather, yes, Streamlit servers, and then you have your own URL, right? So that's the plan. So you do not need any compute power at all. Just bring in a Chromebook, you will do just fine. Bring in your iPad, not that I recommend, but you will do just fine because compute is not happening on the client side. We have taken care of that. Okay. There is this, Raj, your question is, how did you get started? How did you get started? Your start in AI, and how long have you been working in AI space? Forever. Almost half of my life. I started AI, it was just accidentally. I started it I got admitted in a PhD program back then. My professor was working in machine learning, and that's how I got started. I mean, I had did some general sense, but I was more interested in image processing and computer vision, which is what we call AI now, right? So on images. So that's how I started. Then I went on to right after grad school. I did not want to work in industry. I wanted to teach, right? So, but did not get a good teaching position. Ended up at Microsoft, Bing. And then I learned a lot actually there because pretty much everyone was much smarter than I am, like Microsoft research folks and all of that. I mean, but some of the brightest and best in the industry that you probably have heard of, some of the guys. And then learned a few things here and there, and then started Data Science Dojo, right? So I've been working for close to 20 years now in this space. Okay, and then last thing. So it says we will get an assortment of software subscriptions worth $500, enhancing the value of the program. Can you talk about what kind of software subscriptions, right? So the API, so OpenAI API keys that you are given, they are not, they are expensive actually. So because you are processing PDFs, you're running your LangChain labs, so that is a cost to us, and we bear the cost for that. The GPU cluster, when you fine-tune a model, and I'm not sure how many of you are familiar, there's a lot of, compute is a major cost in fine-tuning models, right? So we actually give you that. The Jupyter notebooks that you see on the screen, there is some cost. I mean, every time you run this, of course, there is cost to it. The VMs that we give you for your project deployment, there is a cost. So, overall, we cap it at, of course, $500. Because, I mean, we don't want any abuse of the OpenAI keys. But other than that, what we have done here is, because we do not want to create this dependency. Hey, my credit card does not work. How do I get my OpenAI key? Hey, I don't have a GPU cluster. Hey, my computer does not work. So we don't want to be in that, right? So it's a very, very well-oiled program. No one ever runs into any dependency problems. All we do is learn, and that's it. Or maybe some complication in terms of how do I understand this code, but it is never a infrastructure or any setup problem. No one ever runs into setup problem. It's very slick. You click on this, the lab pops up. Okay, another question. So one of my biggest questions is, how to productionize AI-based products. Can you touch upon what the class covers on that, right? So this one, the session on RAG that I was showing you, this actually covers a lot of those issues around, challenges in building RAG-based LLM applications. This actually talks about a lot into that. And once again, right, so we have built a product and we are serving customers. As of this morning, I had 2 customer meetings, 6 to 7, 7 to 8, where we are building actual LLM applications for actual customers. So lots of interesting case studies from big companies, lots of interesting anecdotes, lots of other anecdotes from industry. So it is all about getting that productionizing experience as much as we can give you in 40 hours. But at the end of the day, your med school and your residency can only teach you so much. You have to go out and practice on your own. Okay, and I do not see any more questions here. Are there any other questions, folks? Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone. It is great. I mean, this was a very engaged audience. Please feel free to set up a time if you would like to. Usually if I'm available, I try to get on a call and answer any questions myself. But if I'm not there, of course, there will be one of the instructors. So please feel free to reach out if there are any questions. And yeah, I hope to see some of you at one of our boot camps. Thank you, everyone.